Alright, I think this thing is on. So, I'm just in my car again because that's where I like to record. Um, I have a house. I just like it's easier for me to get my car clean and then come record in my car and like also smoke in my car than it is for me to like do that in my house because my room is really dirty and I don't want to clean it. I'm kind of lazy about that. I'm not gonna lie. So, I don't know. Interesting transition of power. I think people forget that just because something is in transition of power doesn't mean that it's gonna be peaceful. And I feel like the attack on the Capitol was definitely a reflection of that. And I feel like this is the warning that specifically like the senior members of the Democratic Party were trying to tell specifically Trump for like I don't know however many months now, because they've been talking. They were like from like as soon as 2020 started, they were like, "Yo, Trump, like, are you gonna accept the results of the election?" And Trump was like, and I'm just like, is he gonna accept the results of the election though? Because like on a personal level, I don't think Trump cares. On a political level, the Republican Party definitely cares. So it's like, and like, I was reading, or I guess watching some of like Reagan's older like video clips on YouTube, and then also like there's this nice old lady I used to work with at a summer camp who like talks to me about like she's like a Reagan age person, so like she knows, like she's like my fact checker, I guess. But like it's so interesting how like where the fuck did Trump come from? Like, not in the sense of like he knows all these people, like like it's so clearly evident by Trump's behavior, by his talking points, and his style of political campaign that he both knows or deeply admires Ronald Reagan, and then like Nancy Pelosi, and both Nancy Pelosi and Mitch McConnell kind of started like 5 years, or I think Ronald Reagan was elected in the 80, like 1980. And I think Mitch McConnell was elected 1985. So like that's 5 years apart. That's like a working age, like that's like a peer group age. That's a better way to say it. Like that person, like a person who got elected in Congress in the 80 and like in like 1980 would know a person who got elected in Congress in 1985. Especially if like, especially considering the nature of the scandal of Ronald Reagan, which like, is kind of it's a huge American event. Like it's not like you're an American politician and wasn't paying attention to when that happened. And then also like you gotta like he didn't leave office like he just left office saying that the people who started this shit was still in office. So it's like why do Democrats act as if they have the moral high ground when, and this is not a personal offense to Nancy Pelosi, but when Nancy Pelosi is like part of the Democratic Party, it's like Nancy Pelosi represents a generation of people from the Ronald Reagan age, and that entire age is known for racism. So it's like I don't think, nor am I trying to accuse Nancy Pelosi of being racist, but like if she's not the racist, who's the racist? Because there's definitely a concept of racism in the Democratic Party, like that like benefits the Democratic Party, like people really don't like talking about this shit, because whenever I talk about it, people get like really weird about it. But like like the whole Mandingo trope isn't like erased from American, like modern American society. You know, like black men are still viewed as just like a sexual object to be kept. And if you look at like the American sex industry, it's majority white people, and like it's majority of white people with a group of black people who complain about lacking representation. It's not like it's not like America is Poland and we live in 100% or like a 90% white country. We don't. And we also live with a history of racism. So it's like there are companies that are all white that in America that make companies that are all black but are owned by white people because it's profitable to sell white people for sex. You know, like it's like, you know, it's like it's like the giant elephant. I think the elephant in the room that no one wants to talk about with the entire Republican Party of 2016 is that it is so clearly like their rise in profits is so clearly correlated with the abuse of women and sex-related crimes, and like they just get away with it, right? Like they just get away with it. Like Trump's entire presidency started with him being accused of like sexual misconduct with a sex worker. That sex worker like got a lawyer who ended up like, I forgot what happened exactly, but I remember Tucker Carlson made a report on it. He was like, and it had nothing to do with Stormy Daniels either. Like I remember this. It was like a year later or something, and it was just Tucker and the lawyer, and Tucker was just asking like basic questions that a lawyer should know, like how's your client? Is your client getting paid? Because you know you're a lawyer. That's kind of your job to make sure your client gets paid. Stuff like that. And I was like thinking about it. I was like, wow, they really screwed up. They like at first, I was like, oh, Stormy Daniels made so much money that she just doesn't give a shit and she doesn't appear. But then I was like, that like took like, you know, like just like 3 minutes to think about it. I was like, wait, but like, if she made money, why is her lawyer on screen? Like, if she made money, why is her lawyer bitching? You know, like if a lawyer like. Because that's our lawyer. The lawyer makes the money first. That's why you have a lawyer for 2 reasons. One, you try not to catch a case, or 2, somebody owes you money. We know that Stormy Daniels caught a case, so she wasn't not gonna catch a case, and it was pretty publicly like stated that she didn't get her money. So, what was that lawyer doing there? Like his like he's not doing his job. That's for sure, in my opinion. I don't know. Maybe I don't know what I'm talking about. And then, what else? No, but that's like a serious thing. Like, why is literally no one just making the direct connection with like the Epstein, like the Epstein Clinton world, whatever happened there that I don't want to talk about because somebody died. Like, I don't want to talk about that. But whatever happened there ended, like, you know, according to the Associated Press. And it like the fact is that whatever happened on that island, Epstein is dead for it. Like that is like the closest thing we have to a fact that the Associated Press has publicly released. So, right, knowing that Trump was making hella bank, and that both Trump, the Clintons, Obama, pretty much like any presidential candidate, any mainstream presidential candidate was like on that island. Why is there literally no one making that direct correlation? That we just like sold a whole bunch of women into sex, and now America's profiting off of it. And it's still not enough. Like it's still not enough. Like we sold like what, like half of the female population into sex or something. I don't want to say like half because that's just a number, but like we definitely have a culture of like, yo, you should turn tricks for money, and like we're not giving them money. That's my issue. Like, if you're gonna turn tricks for money, or let me rephrase that. If you're gonna tell a girl to turn tricks for money, pay them the money that you're going to tell them you're gonna pay them, right? Like, that's just like, that's not even like a sex worker virtue, you know? That's just like a basic, like, if I'm gonna do business with somebody, I'm gonna do business with somebody. Like, there should, like, my biggest issue with Trump isn't the social decay that he brought, because he didn't really bring the social decay. Is that he brought a level of decay to social commerce that America cannot tolerate. Like America, like, the American Pilgrims are a bunch of people who were like, I don't like the government, aka Britain. I'm gonna go work some land and figure it out. Like, that was, they crossed the entire ocean, bro. And that's not even like, yeah, that's like the white people's journey here, which is like more, I could say, historically a decision that the Pilgrims made. But like, even the Africans, like, that were forced here didn't come here on like some weak need person type stuff, you know? Like, it was like if you made it to America from Africa, you were stronger than everyone else who didn't make it, because most people, a lot of people didn't make it. So it's like, you don't come, like, even if you have a family member that is racist, you can't be a pussy. Like, that's really what it is about America, okay? Like, don't be racist. Don't be racist. But don't be a coward either. Like, that's like, you can't, you gotta have some type of honor. You have some type of courage. I get my courage from Disney Channel, okay? I play a lot of Kingdom Hearts. I play a lot of Final Fantasy. That's where I get my sense of morality from. I don't know where other people get their sense of morality from, but like, if I do business with you, don't jet me, please. Please don't jet me. That's just like a courtesy thing, right? Like, if I'm gonna give you my money and ask you to do something for me, and you're gonna tell me to do it, can you just do it? Like, can you? I feel like, because I mean, our government doesn't do that, so it is clearly a hard thing to ask. That's why I'm asking the question. But like, because like, I don't know, like, I feel like I'm not crazy for just expecting like people to do the things that they say they're going to do with the money they say they're going to take from me, right? Like, that, I feel like that's completely reasonable, but it really isn't in Trump world. It really isn't. Or in AOC world, for that matter, because like, okay, so here's something I don't understand, and this is, I call it AOC world, but AOC is not the ringleader. Just like Trump is not the ringleader of Trump world. It's just whoever listens to him. But like, how, like, did the Democratic Party raise more money than the Republican Party? Like, objectively? Like every single economist I have saw have said that, like, what's his name? Oh, I can't remember his name. Not Bill de Blasio. Our other mayor, the other New York mayor that was really rich. I really can't believe I can't remember his name. Like, he's just like the blue version of Mitch McConnell to me, and I really, no, not Bill Gates. I really can't remember. Bill de Blasio, Bill Gates, Andrew Cuomo. I feel like he's not in government anymore. I'm trying to remember his name. Yo, I really can't believe, yo, everyone hated him. He was part of the stop and frisk thing in New York City. I feel like it's better if I don't remember his name, considering he's part of stop and frisk, because like, people really don't like that policy. But like, oh, what is his name? Like, I can name so many things about this guy, and I can't name his name. Like, he supported stop and frisk. He was previously the mayor of New York City. I know his strategy for behind building cabinets, and I really can't remember his name. But whoever, and he ran for like in a primary. I remember like he made a video apologizing to black people for stop and frisk, which I thought was like the smartest thing he could have done if he was going to run for candidacy, because he was very aware that people did not like him for voting for stop and frisk. But I feel like I feel like if I'm remembering this information correctly, he was just the richest person on stage, and like in and of himself, by himself, he was richer than the Republican Party at the time. So it's like, where is this money being spent? Like, is it being spent on government programming? Because that would mean Ron Paul is correct, and I really don't like. I said that, and I feel bad about saying it. You know, like, but like that's what it would mean. Like, because like I know that the Democratic Party, in terms of state policy, like I live in New York City, so we get more unemployment than like other people who live out of New York City. But like, it really doesn't mean much, because like living in New York City is like way more expensive than how much more in unemployment they're giving us. And then like it's like nothing, like they really shut down everything. Like when like the lockdown, I don't know what the lockdown was like for other Americans, but like in New York, they even shut down government, like essential workers. Like that's how much they really shut down everything. And like I was an essential worker, I got shut down, like, and it wasn't like, if it was really just like Cuomo coming into every individual building, looking somebody in your soul and being like, yo, you don't work here no more because of the lockdown, then at the very least there would be some consistency and like how bad COVID got in New York. Because COVID got so, like, it got so bad in New York, and I can actually explain the timeline, and I know exactly why this shit happened. First, there was no middle management prepared to handle a pandemic, right? Like I was working middle management basically at Central Supply in a fraternity at a nursing home, and like I was the only person. The person who had been doing that job for 15 years quit like 2 weeks before I started working, trained me in 2 weeks, and just left. And like she gave me her phone number, which is like, I don't want to pay it. Like I don't want to attack this lady because I only really worked for her for 2 or 3 weeks. So I will say she gave me her phone number, but I will also say that like her leaving the building was like an entire political event that I had to deal with for my entire time working there. And like there would be so many times where like I'm just working, and like I'm 26, and like I was like definitely one of the youngest people. Like I think the youngest person in that building was like 24, and then like everyone else like had kids that were my age. So it's like I'm talking to people who are my mom's age and older, and then they're yelling at me for not knowing something, and I look at them like to their face, and I'm just like, you know, I've been working here for 2 months, right? And you know I don't have a boss, right? Like, and they was like, oh, you have a boss? They tell you where to deliver stuff. And I was like, if you thought that the only reason why I need a boss is to know where to put a bottle of lotion, you're not very smart. Like, you're really not. I know where to put a bottle of lotion. That is not where the difficulty of being middle management comes from. And I think in Democratic held communities, especially communities with strong political leanings, there was no effort to raise middle management before COVID. And like, because COVID is literally indiscriminate death, like there was no, when COVID was done, there was no one to train anybody. All the people who would have been high enough level to train got scared because of the lockdown, so they didn't want to train. Well, this is my personal experience. Got scared because of the lockdown because they didn't want to train, and then proceeded to die off. So it's like, and like this is like a practical thing. Like I don't work, but like I hang out at the local skate park, right? It's like down my block. They started locking people. Like I literally had to start performing government related duties for free because somebody that works there died, and then the other people who work there are not very like proactive members of the community right now because it's a lockdown, and like it's like legally mandated lockdown, right? So it's like I want to go outside and go to the skate park, and you know I have to pay public officials with my tax dollars to make sure that they're fed, but they can't do their job. And then they make me do their job because I have to do it for free, because that's kind of like whatever the state of the political establishment is in New York right now, I can't hold public events and make like money legally. Like I could like, you know, take a handout, but like if I report it to my taxes, then it's tax fraud and I can go to jail. Or I can get fined for more money than I made, which is like also really shitty. So why would I, again, talk to the cops? Like, because in addition to me losing my money now, because the government isn't protecting my money, and the government has given authority to the police officers of New York State Department to steal money. That is the authority they practically have, because they can arrest you, take your money as evidence, and then say, because it is evidence, they never have to give it to you again. That is something that literally happens to my friends in New York City or in New York State, because like I have friends all over New York State, not just in New York City. I don't even live in New York City. I just spend time in New York City. But like, you know, it's like the police can literally steal our money, can literally arrest us. Like, they can give us false charges at no consequences to them, right? Like, a police officer who's been on the force for like a year can go up to any person, like not even just a black person, but like any person who can't afford a $2,000 check, to just like be like, here's your fines, here's multiple fines. The police officers do not have to prove any, like, they don't have to prove the fines, right? Because the fines are protected by the federal government. So the government proves the fines, but the police officer does not have to prove a fine, because that's kind of like where like the applied immunity comes in. So it's like a police officer can literally write me a ticket, like $2,000 worth of tickets, with no like oversight, consequences, or whatever. I gotta go to court. I gotta pay court fees to deal with it. If it is found that all of the tickets were given in bad faith, there is zero consequences to the police officer, and I still have to pay court fees. So it actually is of financial benefit for cops to just steal money, because there is literally zero consequences to cops stealing money from people. Like, there, like I could not go to court and sue a cop if they came into my car, gave me a ticket, and it took $200 out of my car. That is a true thing. So like, knowing that as a true thing, you really have to like secure and make consistent the ability of people to buy things from PayPal and Bitcoin and Cash App, because MasterCard and Visa have been pretty public in discriminatory practices against sex workers, or anyone who like is mildly attractive and in the model industry for whatever reason, especially on Instagram. So like, PayPal as the third party to MasterCard and Visa in terms of like a Bitcoin app, like if that goes down, the economy can't function. The government can't even really give out checks in a practical manner, right? Like, let's say you're a traveling vlogger. Let's say you're home 3 days a week because you're traveling 5 days a week, so that you could take pictures and stuff, right? Like, or I guess that's 8 days and not 7 days, but you get my point, right? Like, let's say you're only home let's say you're home 3 days a week because you work 4 days a week because you're a traveling vlogger, right? Like, you're not like literally crossing the country, but like, you're just not in your house, right? Like, maybe you're at your friend's house, you're at your cousin's house, you're at your mom's house, whatever, and because you're taking pictures in that area and you're not at your house. What if you are waiting for a payment let's say you're waiting for one of the Trump checks that came in. Yes, the Trump checks were beneficial to people who received them. Two things. One, it's a mailed check. And let's not act like people aren't smart enough to rob a UPS truck. Like, we grew up, like, you're dealing with a generation that grew up on like Indiana Jones, Fallout New Vegas, and like a whole bunch of cartoons. Like, we understand that we can rob a truck and get things. Like, so like, you know, like, you're sending money through a truck when you can send it online. Two, like, and an online payment is instant. An online payment goes straight to my phone. An online payment does not have to know where my address is, right? So like, let's say for argument's sake, I am a traveling vlogger, right? Like, I don't have to worry about being in my house on Monday for a check. All I have to do is worry about my phone being charged on Monday for a check, which is a lot easier to do since, like, the majority of cars have chargers, as well as gas stops and truck stations. So, I don't know. I feel like, why is American politics so, like, you have an internet infrastructure that hit the entire world, and you have a FBI structure to spy on the entire American populace as a public, like a publicly known matter, and you can't determine that people are, like, that people need, like, Bitcoin? Like, it's kind of weird.